Hello, good morning. Thank you all for being on the Challenger stage, a new format within the Webit and the Digital series. I will explain a bit about the format, what we will be doing here today, and the speakers that we selected for you. We will be challenging the status quo of marketing, business, and innovation. Today, here, it is about you meeting up and mixing up ideas with the speakers. We have an app for that. You have seen it. You probably all downloaded the app, or you use it on the web, where you can ask questions to the speakers. We also have the old school way. I have a mobile microphone where I can walk up to you and ask you if you have a question, so you can ask it. So you can use either the app for questions or raise your hand and I will come to you with the microphone. The other thing we like to do is, if you have new insights, things that you discover, feel free to tweet them through #DigitEMEA. We have a large following, we have the live stream, and we are going to make this a very interactive day, and that's why you're here. So I would like to introduce and invite our first speaker to come to the stage. His name is Reggie Bradford. He's the SVP Product Development of Oracle. Reggie, please come to the stage. Give him a warm welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Everybody hear me okay? Well, I'm happy to be here in Istanbul, and a little bit about myself. And as Igor said, I'm going to try to get through my prepared remarks as quickly as possible, and then please queue up your questions, and let's make this more of a conversation. I love the title, Challenger Stage. Let me give you a quick background. I come from Atlanta, Georgia in the United States. I live in London, but I'm hail as a startup, three-peat, founder or entrepreneur. And my most recent startup was a company called Vitru that I started in 2006. It was acquired by Oracle in 2012, so I joined Oracle via the acquisition of my company. Vitru was a leader in social media marketing platforms in the cloud. Prior to that, I was CEO of a startup called N2 Broadband that was purchased for about $120 million by Tandberg Television in 2005. Prior to that, I was CMO of WebMD, which merged with a larger company in the late 90s. WebMD was a leader in internet healthcare and sold for $3 or $4 billion. So I love to challenge the status quo, and I love to work with startups. I work with a bunch now. So I want to talk today a little bit about what we're facing in terms of customer experience and how customer experience is driving the agenda for companies large and small. I think it has impacts on how big companies need to mobilize and change, which is what we're all about, but also how do startups innovate and work with larger companies, even such as Oracle and other big companies. So this is obviously the reality that we face today. You have the consumer that is completely digital, mobile, connected, empowered, and completely in control. And we all know that 9 out of 10 consumers today on social media platforms or messaging platforms buy products or services based upon a recommendation from a peer or friend. The dynamic has completely changed in the favor of the digitally connected mobile consumer. And this, if you're a company, is your reality. In 2014, the top marketing technology investment was for customer experience. In 2015, the #1 innovation project is to enhance customer experience. And again, in 2016, 90% of companies expect to compete almost entirely on the basis of customer experience. But as we've mentioned, and I know is the theme of the conference, big disruption happening in every single market. 52% of the Fortune 500 companies since 2000 are gone, more than half. And they have not been able to face reality. And here's a quote. Jack Welch was a famous CEO of General Electric, GE. Said, face reality as it is, not what you wish it to be. And people have to come to the grip and realization and, to use a pun, get their heads out of the sand and realize that this is changing very rapidly. In today's digital landscape, the bar for success isn't set by your industry, but expectations of the technology-fueled consumers. And whether it's in Istanbul or London or Tokyo or Atlanta, Georgia, New York, consumers are increasingly enjoying these mobily enabled experiences that completely are enabled on an iPhone or an Android, such as an Uber, BitTaxi, OpenTable, Airbnb, whatever the case might be. And this is creating a paradigm that larger companies have to deliver this similar experience. Data continues to come increasingly larger quantities and faster, and we're entering this era of real-time marketing. In only 1 minute, 2.4 million pieces of content are shared on Facebook, 277,000 tweets, 206,000 emails are sent, and 48,000 app downloads every single minute right now. And this is presenting a huge increasing challenge as well as opportunity for companies large and small to be able to make sense of this data and to be able to manage that. And then $83,000 in Amazon online sales every single minute. And you probably saw in the last few weeks the disruption that's happening even with online retail that's having to traditional retail, what this is doing for companies such as Walmart and their in-store activity and the challenges that even Walmart has had dealing with this change. So this is just a cartoon of how's your big data project coming along, Hoskins, and you can see the guy down here buried in the muck. But data does give businesses the opportunity to really understand customers and personalize if you're able to connect that together and across all interactions and all touch points to get to that for one person. And I would say that from an Oracle point of view, we're relatively, I say relatively in the life cycle of marketing and marketing automation, relatively new to the space, having been in it, maybe 5 or 10 years. But the big initiative is to connect those data points together and create this unified view of a customer, whether they're online, on mobile, through connecting through a mobile ID, an email, an offline in-store experience, the social platforms where people spend more and more time, and then increasingly on the general web, on commerce, and bringing those experiences together in a de-identified way so that marketers can start to connect that together, starting with the data layer, and then enabling application layer through marketing automation and social and other technologies to integrate that together. And then the other area is to deliver on a third-party ecosystem where we want to be able to work across organizations, but also within marketing to help them bring best-of-breed solutions, third-party solutions to integrate into our marketing cloud, our social cloud, easily, so that if customers want to use various startups, in addition to our technologies, we can do that through APIs and easily and fluidly and through ease of use and integration. But really, the second area outside of data, I think, is about people. And in our own lives, we have our sort of business software we use, or our business tools, or email systems, whatever the case might be, and then we have our personal tools that we use, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. Increasingly, it's about connecting with people. And every step along the brand journey, personality, humanity, companies that increasingly embrace authenticity in their communications, that starts at the very top. That's how companies succeed in today's environment. And you can see examples of companies that embrace that authenticity and do it very well, and companies that don't. Traditionally, as we all probably know, or the way I grew up, marketers have concentrated really on buyers at two groups. I'm either in the B2B space, I'm in the B2C, business to consumer, or I'm in the B2B, business to business, as if they're two different people. We all know they're the same people. They might be different sectors. So I think in reality, aren't they the same people? Perspective and buying process may change by situation, but no matter what you're selling, success depends on connecting with decision makers, whether you're selling to a business or you're selling to a consumer, it's connecting with the decision maker increasingly. And so those systems need to change, the user experience need to change, the go-to-markets need to change to reflect that. And technology is the biggest thing in business today. We all know that. Speed, disruption, innovation, but if you can't integrate technology into your business, you can't succeed, or you won't succeed. And transforming, really, it's about how do you shift your culture, again, big or small company, your business models, which are changing increasingly on the fly. Companies large and small have to think about, sharing, peer-to-peer, the on-demand models that are changing, just about everything, in business. And then how do we engage? And really, as we all know, I don't know if you've probably heard this term, walk a mile in my shoes, but to really understand your customers is to really sit in their chair and understand how are they evolving and participating. And here's just Henry Ford was a famous inventor in the early 1900s. He created the Ford Motor Company, and he said a business will be devoted to service will have only one worry about profits: they will be embarrassingly large. And then more recently, Sam Walton, the founder of Walmart, who has been challenged by Amazon most recently, and he said there's only one boss, the customer, and he can fire everybody in the company simply by spending his money somewhere else. And again, I think in the case of Walmart, they're facing this challenge where people are using the convenience of maybe some of the online experiences like Amazon, and it's going to be a challenge for Walmart to continue to innovate there and deliver that compelling customer experience that we're talking about right now. But to be authentic and effective, a customer experience strategy must become really a part of all of these components of an organizational culture. So a company that's doing this really well from my perspective is General Motors, and I've spent a lot of time personally up in Detroit. They're one of the largest automobile companies in the world. They brought in a guy named Dave Mengele to run customer experience for the company globally. They have a social media command center in Detroit with about 100 or so employees managing social channels in about 70 or 80 countries, 25 million or so consumers that are connected through these various social platforms. And they develop new products together with consumers. Consumers identify flaws in products. They actually use social at the center of their ecosystem to bring in executives to these big visual boards of everything that's going on, conversations happening all over the globe. Most importantly, maybe with GM, the CEO is a big believer in authenticity. Starts very well at the top. They've had product recall issues, some problems that they've had in the marketplace, but they've embraced those, made fun of themselves, been authentic. I think it's leading to a cultural change at General Motors. Just an example of how customer experience is really at the front of the organization and defining how that organization builds products, delivers products, executes in the market, and changes their culture. Thomas, this guy I work for, is president of Oracle, and just a quote he talks about is the core of customer experience and what we're building it is to enable our customers to successfully disrupt their own business models and become leaders in the industry. So we want to help companies change very rapidly, to use technology to change how they go to market, their business models, and how they succeed in this environment. And so my advice for anybody is to be bold. That's on my wristband. Be your customer and be the change that you expect. And to exceed your customer's expectation, because their perception really is your reality in the market today. So with that, I know we have a few minutes that we've left for questions or anything you guys want to ask me other than anything financially related, or I can't really talk to reporters right now. However, anything else is fair game. Okay?
Thank you very much. Give him a big hand of applause, Reggie. Thank you very much. Now I'm looking to you, Janita. Do we have questions? Okay. Well, that seems like... anybody question to Reggie? Yeah, here you go. It's on.
Thanks for coming. So I'm curious, if the customer experience is so central in this, as you say, what's the impact of kind of, I don't know, cultural differences? I mean, I'm an American living in Bulgaria for many years and getting involved in the startup community a bit there, and I see this as a big, big impact because the startup community has to kind of create its own microculture because Bulgarian culture, as many of us know, doesn't have that same focus on kind of customer experience that, I don't know, America and UK kind of culture has. So how do you think this will impact other countries, developing world-class companies?
Well, it's a great question, and I see, in my purview, working with startups, well, we have some assets and some companies we're working with in Bulgaria, but all over the globe, and I think the misnomer is you have to be in Silicon Valley to be, successful, and we built 3 very, successful startups in Atlanta, Georgia, not Bulgaria. But I think it starts with how do you solve like a big problem, and how do you deliver that uniquely that no one else is doing, and then how do you create excitement and energy behind your idea, and that, to me, that's not separated by cultural barriers. It's about finding great talent and leveraging that.
Is it also about the company culture? What I notice a lot is that we always make an exception because our market and our industry and Bulgaria is different, and it's a lot of bullshit that I hear everywhere. But it seems if I speak to consumers in Bulgaria, they want the same services in the US and the UK, and if they don't get it, they will complain on social media that you suck big time.
Absolutely.
So how do we get into out of those barriers of the culture, and how do we change these organizations into becoming customer-centric?
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head. I think with social media, it's really the true leveling the playing field. So anybody in the world can compete with anybody else. Anybody on the screen, whether it's Oracle, GE, Walmart, from Bulgaria. It's possible now. Because if you are an incumbent and you are not going to, that's the whole idea. If you don't deliver the customer experience that consumers expect, they're going somewhere else.
Yeah.
And so that is the opportunity that's in front of us right now. That's a concern. If you're a large company, if you're an upstart, you have that opportunity. You have to seize it.
Yeah, and if you show the figures about the decline of the Fortune 500 companies that are dying and dying, it seems that the smaller companies, the local ones, they don't see the opportunity and don't seize the opportunity.
Well, yeah, and I would say the only other thing with, again, not to focus on Bulgaria because it could be many other areas, but the access to capital is the other. That's a potential challenge, right? You have to have capital to be successful, and so I think you have to get out there with your idea and find investors and get people to believe in you.
We have time for 2 more questions. If you, I'm now in the dark, out of the camera, so go ahead.
Thank you. Really fascinating presentation. I'm representing a global market research association here, and I'm wondering what is your point of view from Oracle perspective, on the insights team / marketing intelligence / market research. How do you see that, and how you integrate probably that information and value into your consumer-centric strategy?
It's a great question. I worked as early in my career, I worked as a brand manager in a large beverage company, and market research was exactly how we develop products, right? Focus groups, surveys, all kinds of things. That data, we believe, is incredibly rich and vibrant. It needs to be unlocked, and it needs to become liquid. In other words, that needs to be more easily ported and integrated into this broader marketing cloud, and the cloud enables that. Doesn't have to be in the cloud, but this data layer has to include internal proprietary, third-party data, and then your data on your customers to be able to make better decisions. So we're pushing that through partners and third parties, and happy to talk about that further.
Thank you. Good question. Thank you. The last tip, Reggie, before we have to say goodbye to you because of the time. Well, how do we organize this? But you have so much experience. Do we need a chief digital officer, chief information officer? How do we reorganize ourselves to make this really happen?
Yeah, that's a great question. There's not a silver bullet, you know, one size fits all. I would say depending on the organization, the size, I think the key is to break down the organizational silos. Easier in a smaller company, although I've even seen politics in small companies. But you're increasingly seeing this combination of, well, CMOs are taking on increasingly larger...
Can the marketer do this by himself nowadays?
Well, the cloud does give the marketer a lot more freedom and flexibility to be able to buy applications, you know, right off of a credit card per se, and more marketers are taking on the role of customer experience inside the organizations. Historically, IT has been, you know, the purview of all technology inside an organization. Gartner says CMOs are going to spend more money than CIOs by 2017. I don't know that that's the case, but you're going to see CIOs and CMOs come together. You're seeing this chief digital officer, this chief digital information officer, many cases reporting to the CMO or joint reporting, but it's going to change dramatically in the next 5-10 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Give him a big applause. Thank you very much, Reggie.
All right.
Thank you.